Well, everyone, we knew this was going to happen eventually. So I welcome you to the final installment of The End of Bleach! Plot points that need addressed! Before I begin this video, I should explain to you a little bit of an update we got on the exact time frame for the ending of the Bleach series. I made a video about a week ago titled Bleach Ending in August of 2016, and I discussed, and I wasn't the only one who made this video, it was based off a bit of information we got at the end of Volume 73. 73 was the last volume released in Japan, and at the end of that volume, it stated in big letters that, depending on the translation, either the next Bleach volume, as in Volume 74, would be the last one, or the next volumes, as in plural, would be the last Bleach volumes. So, a lot of people were like, oh, well, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to end in 5 weeks. It could be longer than that. So, as an update to that, what happened is recently Hisashi Sasaki, who was the former editor-in-chief in Shonen Jump and is the current vice president of Shonen Jump Global, so he knows his shit. This is a guy that's pretty high up in the Shueisha hierarchy there. He came out on a podcast he was on, and he said that Bleach would be ending in under 10 weeks. And this interview, I think, was either on the 12th or the 13th of this week, already after this volume had come out the last chapter, chapter 682, had come out in Japan. So, it's not 5 weeks. I mean, it could technically be that it's under 10 weeks, but at the absolute maximum, we're talking middle of September. And the text at the end of Volume 73 might actually be accurate. It all depends on how there could be 2 more volumes, but that doesn't really matter at this point. What matters is, at absolute maximum, we're probably only going to get 9 more chapters. And so, whether or not they're going to divide that up, whether or not they're going to be the last chapter is going to be 50 pages long, whether or not they're going to divide it up into Volume 74, Volume 75, that doesn't really matter at this point, because we have a definite number coming from a very high-ranking member in Shueisha and Shonen Jump, under 10 weeks. So, middle of September, mark your calendars. That's going to be at the absolute latest. So I just wanted to clear that up really briefly because I was getting a lot of questions for that. Okay, so as with all these videos, let's start off by recapping the events that occurred since the last time I made this video. I make these videos in July of every year, so let's go back to see what's happened since chapter 635 all the way up to chapter 682. So this past year has been pretty much devoted to a single kind of mini arc amidst the 1,000-Year Blood War arc, and that is the battle with the elite Sternritters, the battle with the Schutzstaffen, or is it Schutzstaffel? I don't know. The things that they were they're clearly based off Nazis, and the SS was known as the Schutzstaffel. I don't know where the Schutzstaffen's coming from, so maybe that's another translation. German people, help me out. But yeah, that's pretty much entirely what this past year was. We had the 4 elite Sternritter officers, Sternritter C, Pernida Parkjaw, Sternritter D, Askinak Levar, Sternritter M, Gerard Valkyrie, and Sternritter X, Lilia Barrow, and their battles that they were in. The first battle we had was Mayuri Kuretsuchi and Nemu Kuretsuchi versus Sternritter C, the compulsory Pernida Parkjaw, who also turned out to be the left arm of the Soul King. In that battle, Nemu ended up dying. Well, sort of. Her body was completely destroyed by Pernida, but Mayuri managed to salvage her brain, so she probably will come back in some form eventually. Mayuri was also heavily damaged in that battle, but he did end up winning. He managed to infect Pernida's body with Nemu's cells, which basically made it reproduce its cells at an incredibly fast rate, and it basically exploded. I'm on the fence of saying that Pernida's dead and gone for good, considering it's part of the Soul King's anatomy. It's the left arm of the Soul King. So, I don't know if this is the kind of thing that's like, oh, it's gone for now, but it will return one day as long as the Soul King draws breath. Something kind of like that, I don't know. But that's how that fight ended. Mayuri was grievously injured, and he had to go into his healing pod. and we haven't seen him since. Kenpachi Zaraki was also heavily wounded in that fight. He got his kneecaps kind of fucked over, but he was placed in the healing pod as well and eventually returned later on. The next battle we had was Shunsui Kyoraku and Nanao Issei fighting against Lilia Barrow, Stern Ritter X, the X-Axis, the first Stern Ritter given power by Yuha, one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful. This fight was pretty cool, except it wasn't really focused that much on Shunsui as it was on Nanao. Shunsui went Bankai, and that's another big theme this past year. You can call it the year of the Bankai, because we had a bunch of new Bankai revelations this past year. But yeah, Shunsui goes Bankai. He uses his new one. It's Katen Kyokatsu Karamatsu Shinju, but he doesn't really use it. It's not really an integral way of taking out the Stern Ritter. I think that's why a lot of people felt it was kind of like, because this is Shunsui Bankai we're talking about here. This is something we've been looking forward to for a while, and he uses it, and it doesn't even manage to take out his opponent. It doesn't even manage to injure him. Lilia's volt-standing Zyrael basically converts him into pure light, and you can't kill him through conventional means. But despite his Bankai kind of not being an integral role in this battle was very emotional. It mostly hinged on the relationship between Shunsui and Nanao, and this is revealed to be something that came about from Shunsui's brother and Nanao's mother being married at one point. So it's a very emotional kind of fight. We get a lot of flashbacks during it, and it's appropriate considering Shunsui's Bankai is all about drama and theater. And then we find out about how his whole life is basically a big tragedy, basically. How everybody kept entrusting things to Shunsui, like the hairpins and his kimono. Those are very relevant things we find the backstory of and who they came from, and everybody that gives him stuff ends up dying a tragic death. Nanao's mother became integral because we find out about the Issei family, what they really are. They're like this family of priests that don't really have individual Zanpakutos, so we find out that Nanao never had a Zanpakuto of her own. It was a family Zanpakuto called Shinten Hakyoken. There we go. And it was a sword that was specifically catered to fighting against gods, and they're fighting against a god. How convenient, Kubo. Lilia is the only one of the Schutzstaffen, though, that is still maybe possibly alive. We don't know if he is or not, because after Yuha used his Holy Selection and killed Gerard, it's also very possible he could have killed Lilia in the process. But as far as we know, Lilia is still alive. He had his powers drastically decreased by Shinten Hakyoken, and he's now in the Soul Society. Next battle we had was Uehara, Yoroichi, and Yushiro, who unfortunately is still alive. Whatever. Versus Asuka Naklevar, Stern Ritter D, the Death Dealing, my favorite Stern Ritter. This battle was pretty intense. He also fought against Ichigo, Chad Orihime, and Grimmjow very briefly, but he just dropped all of them. Askin is a pretty OP kind of guy. Yoroichi and Yushiro fight him. He adapts to their technique, so they can't work. Uehara shows up, and he's like, I got this, and Uehara is a pretty clever dude, so through that ingenuity, he managed to get the advantage over Askin very briefly by converting Yoroichi into a Thundercat, but Askin, once again, my man, he takes action, goes into his release, and it becomes what this should have been altogether. It should have been an all-balls-out fight between Uehara and Askin. I only wish the fight would have been a little bit longer, because the revelation from the time he goes release to, immediately after that, Uehara goes Bankai and then kind of just defeats him. But it was a pretty intense fight. Uehara was clearly pushed to the brink. He was very injured a lot more than he ever was in this series. Pretty intense fight. I loved Askin's character. I loved his personality. I loved his powers. A little bit complicated, but they were still very interesting. Grimmjow and Neliel got a little bit on the action at the end of this fight. I feel like a lot of people might be kind of bummed out about that, really, because, Grimmjow's, he didn't really get a final battle in the series. He sneaked up on Askin, went into his Resurrection, stabbed his freaking heart out, Mortal Kombat style, crushed it, and then killed him. And that was it. And all Neliel did, she didn't get a fight at all. She just kind of jumped in to save them, and we don't even know the outcome of that, although I'm sure they're still alive, trust me. But yeah, Grimmjow and Neliel didn't really get a final battle. I'm kind of bummed out about that. I really wish to see Nell doing something cool. She never really even had a definitive battle because her battle with Noitora ended with her prematurely turning back into a child. So it's not like Neliel ever had like a really cool battle where she was the victor at the end, you know? That's just kind of sucked, but what are you going to do? Final battle here with the shoot stuff and was against Gerard Valkyrie. We had Toshiro, Hitsugaya, Byakuya Kuchiki, Pampachi Zaraki, the Visors, Hiyori, Love, Lisa, Hachi, freaking, oh man, there was, before that, we had, Ruki and Renji join in a little bit, but I don't think, and Shinji, but yeah, they didn't really do anything. He just kind of curb stomped them there. But yeah, Gerard was, probably, I don't want to say the strongest, because Lilia and Gerard's powers are very similar. They're both kind of made of light, and you can't really kill them. Gerard, although the one difference is whenever Gerard got injured, he doesn't just reform, he reforms and gets stronger. Whereas Lilia, whenever he got damaged, just reforged. But they're both very similar, they're both made of light. Gerard ended up not being defeated by any of his opponents, despite the fact that, you know, we had Kenpachi's Bankai, Byakuya going into his secret technique Bankai, Choshiro revealing his truly matured Bankai. Despite all this crazy shit, he was taken down by Yuha, mostly because I think Kubo just went way too OP with his powers, which is why I did a contest to ask you guys if you could send me in fanfictions on a proper ending of the Miracle fight, which I'm reviewing the entries right now, and I would hopefully have a winner announced by the end of the month. I got over about 110 entries on that. Probably the most least tense sort of shitty ending to a fight, I would say. It just didn't leave me like with any real like resolution. You know, they should have just ended it whenever Toshiro, Byakuya, Kenpachi did their combo attack thing. That would have been a perfect way to end it. I don't know why Kubo decided to keep going. But yeah, that's the way that went down. So, a quick death count here, because that just brings us up to the final battle right now between Ichigo and Yuha. A quick death count, we had Nemu, Pernida, Askin, and I wrote Basby, although I think Basby died, like, right before I did this video last year, but I'll throw Basby in, whatever, it's cool. And as well, we also have Drew Graham Hashwolf. So, yeah, moving on to the final battle, we had Yuryu versus Hashwolf, which wasn't really an actual fight. It was mostly dialogue, and we cut away from it for so long. It wasn't a consistent chapter. It was just these little few scenes that we didn't even get, you know, consistent, like, every week. We didn't even get an update. It didn't feel like a final battle. I did a poll on one of my videos, and I asked, do you guys feel content with the ending of Hashwolf? This is how Hashwolf died, which is purportedly the secondary antagonist of this arc, and a lot of people were like, no, I do not. Like 70% were like, I do not feel satisfied by this at all. But anyway, yeah, Hashwolf ended up dying when Yuha did his holy selection, which also killed Gerard in the process, as I previously mentioned there. But yeah, that was pretty much the final thing there. Ichigo fights against Yuha, gets his shit kicked out of him, uses his hollow form, uses Gran Rey Zero, goes into Bankai, immediately fucking broken, and then Yuha activates Holy Selection, goes through the gates, and that's where we are now. The Fullbringers also show up at the very end, the Fullbringers, Ginjo and Tsukishima, but that's it. I think we're all caught up now with that. Yeah, so that's all the stuff that happened last year as a recap. I kept this recap a little bit longer. I was a little bit more thorough in this one because, once again, this is the last of these videos. So moving on to the stuff that we need to know about. Now, keep in mind, this list could have been this long, okay? Because there's a lot of stuff that we would like to know. But I shortened it because I'm not going to sit here crying at the moon. All right, you have to understand the way it's ending within 10 weeks that a lot of stuff is going to be left unknown. Okay, so I shortened it down quite a bit because there was no point in keeping, like, we never found out about this person's Bankai, we never found out about this character. There's no point in bitching about it because that's just the way it is. It's ending. You can say Kubo's being rushed, you can say whatever you want to speculate, but it's ending in 10 weeks, there's only so much you can fit in each chapter, and I would much rather Kubo at least focus on the final battle instead of jumping around all over the place to give us resolutions for these other characters. So that's just the way it goes. But with that being said, there's some things that are set up that, unless they are actually touched upon, would feel rather disappointing. The first of which, Isshin Kurosaki and Ryukin appearing. They appeared in the last chapter. Ryukin delivered a piece of silver, a silver arrowhead to Uryu, which might very well damage Yuha or manage to put the death nail on him. He gives it to him, and that's it. Ryukin's like, I only dropped by to give you this arrowhead, and I would feel massively disappointed if that seriously is all they do. We still need to see Isshin's Bankai. He's right there. Isshin's right there. His Bankai was hinted at before. So other characters like Shinji, it was never even hinted what their Bankai could do. But with Isshin's, it was mentioned before. So I would feel rather disappointed if we don't at least get to see his Bankai. And I like, once again, I've said this in every single one of these videos. Final arc, focused on Quincy's. Uryu and Ryukin, only major Quincy's we knew about before this final arc, and Ryukin is just kind of shoved to the side. He shows up at the very end just to deliver fucking Uryu a silver arrowhead. Come on. Come on. At least have him join the final battle with you. Okay. That's all I really got to say about them. There is some speculation whether or not Ryukin has a Let's Steal or a Holy Release he can use. Same thing with Uryu. If he has that, I'm not sure. Soken Ishida, there was a lot of stuff I wanted to know about that. I'm going to be making a whole video about the past that we should have, that we really needed to know about. The 1,000 years ago battle with the Stern Raiders and the Soul Society, and where Soken fits into all this and all the Stern Raiders backstory. I'm going to be doing a whole video about that, so I'm not even going to go into it here. But yeah, that's one of the things I figured we're just not going to get, so there's no point in even putting it on the list. So that's that. Moving on. Ichigo's Bankai. Okay. He uses Bankai, tenses on Getsu, gets immediately broken. Tsukishima shows up, fixes it, and then immediately gets broken again. Not the same way it did last time, but it still gets shattered. Still not fit for battle. Now, there's a theory prevailing right now that is actually not Ichigo's true Bankai. It's something else altogether. He has like another release or something like that. Once again, considering we're nearing the end, I really hope that's not the case. I really hope it's not one of those things where it's like the one chapter before Yuha loses, Ichigo discovers this secret new power he had, and he cuts fucking Yuha down along with Uryu. I don't know. That's a cool way I could see the fight ending. Uryu and Ichigo delivering the final attack on Yuha. Because that would seem like a Deus Ex Machina, very similar to the way the final Getsuga was. The final Getsuga was pretty much a Deus Ex Machina, if you really look at it. It was never hinted at before, it was never mentioned before. All of a sudden, fucking Ichigo can use it all of a sudden, and it's just like, oh no, and Aizen transcended to this crazy level, and Ichigo wasn't even near that, and like, oh well, there's this special training you can do to get to it. It just seemed like it was thrown in at the last minute. So I'm hoping it's not that case. I'm hoping you can at least still stick with his Bankai and just reveal the techniques that he learned while training with the Soul Palace and the Zero Squad. I think that would be appropriate. Let's talk about the Zero Squad for a little bit here. Let's talk about that. Not a lot to really say, but I just had to mention it. We never really got to find out dick about him. We really didn't. Didn't really get to find out what's the whole deal with Senjumara or Kiryu. Senjumaro apparently had a connection with the fucking 12th Division. We never even know where that went. Was she the captain of the 12th Division before Kiryu was? Was she part of the original Gotei? We don't know. Korinji was the only one, I think, that used his Shikai. No, Ichibei did too. But yeah, he was the only one they were the only two that went their Shikai. Ichibei was the only one we got to see his Bankai. Ichibei was the one we got to learn the most of information about, honestly. But even then, considering he's apparently like the oldest and like the first Shinigami that was like given powers by the Soul King, we think we could learn a lot more. Just a lack of information, lack of abilities. Nimaya, the god of the Zanpakuto, and we didn't even get to see him use a fucking Shikai. Are you kidding me? He created the Zanpakuto, has an access to like an unlimited arsenal of fucking swords. Never even got to see a Shikai from him. Never even got to see him use a special ability or anything like that. Ah, damn, that just hurts. And the way they were taken out, of course, how can anyone forget about this? All the Zero Squad off-screened by the Schutzstaffen. I'm not saying they couldn't do it if they activated their full power. I'm not saying they couldn't do it. Kinda would have liked to see the fucking fights, though. So, yeah, this is gonna go down in history, in Bleach history, as probably one of the biggest just letdowns of all. All the build up to the Zero Squad, all the years we were wondering who they were, what they did, just fucking train hit a goddamn mountain there. So, I just wanted to bring that up, just to be a buzzkill. Yeah. So next, let's talk about character, just really quickly, character Bankais. We're not going to learn about them, probably. We're not going to learn what Shinji's Bankai is, probably, or loves. We're not going to learn about Ukitake's Bankai, more than likely. And I bring this up not to speculate. I bring this up just because I might just do speculation videos on that. But I bring this up just to say, live with it. I mean, I knew we were not going to end this series knowing everybody's Bankai, knowing everybody's Shikai. I knew that. But I just feel like I should bring it up again to you. In that vein, let's talk about other characters that might not be considered part of the main cast, but characters that certainly have a lot of fans and how they were just kind of dropped off. Like Izuru Kira. Izuru Kira freaking turned into a cyborg zombie thing, and we're probably not going to go with that. Like, 9 weeks left. He's in the Soul Society. He might join in the final battle. I hope he does. But it's a very strong possibility he just might not. And it's like, you go through all that trouble of killing him off, making us think he was killed off, and then rebuilding him better than ever. You had, like, a whole chapter, just dead man standing, big reveal, Izuru's still alive, and it might not go anywhere. Shuhei! Shuhei apparently might have known Bankai. Kensei had that moment where it was like, show me your Bankai, and Shuhei's like, oh, what? He gets shot in the fucking abdomen by Lilia. We don't get to find out what happened there. A bunch of the other characters that went to the Soul Palace just dropped off the radar. Isane, Hanataro, let's see, there was, Kione, Centauru, Soifone, and Omaida. I don't like fucking Soifone. I think she's a bitch, but she's still one of the fucking captains. She literally just dropped off the fucking radar. She's gone. She showed up, and then she disappeared. And the only possible explanation that we get is that as they're running, Shunsui's group is like, Shunsui's like, man, they already took, that sniper already took down like half our number. So, did she get fucking shot? Like, I don't care, but you think the fucking captain of the stealth corps would be able to avoid a fucking sniper fight, you know? Omaida's fat ass, I can understand that, but fucking Soifone, I can see Soifone using Omaida as a fucking shield. She's such a goddamn bitch. But, yeah, I mean, you think one of the Centauro, Kione, Isane, fucking what, even Shuhei, I'm like, whatever, they're disposable, but fucking Soifone, really? You're just gonna, like, disregard her? I mean, there's some major Soifone fans out there. I don't know why, but they are out there. But yeah, just accept the fact that we're just not going to get anything from them. We're in the Soul Society now. They're up in the Soul Palace. We might get, at best, maybe like one chapter, maybe one panel. Maybe at the end we might get a... Now, keep in mind, though, I'll bring this up later, but keep in mind, we're probably going to get like a post-chapter where, you know, it's like a time skip into the future where we wrap up everything, and Kubo will probably try to cram all the characters in this final chapter to kind of give us like some final closure with them. Like, we'll see like Shuhei and Soifone and everybody recovering in a hospital bed or something. So just keep in mind, we're probably going to get that. I'm just not getting in the actual final battle. We're pretty much done with them. So yeah. Moving on to, okay, let's talk about Yuha now. Let's talk about Yuha and Aizen and everything. Okay, so I mentioned in the review I would rather prefer the final battle be Aizen versus Yuha. I think a lot of people were with me on that. Ichigo, of course, has to be included because he's the main character, and Uryu is probably going to show up, and he's going to probably do something too. The gate, I guess, is still open, so I guess he could just walk through. So, what do you think some tricks are that Aizen could use? I'll be making a video about this too. I'll be making so many fucking videos coming up in the next 10 weeks before summer ends, before I have to go back to college. Bleach is going to end when I'm in college. That's going to be tough. That's going to be fun to do. But anyway, yeah, so, Aizen. Does he still have his Zanpakuto? Can he still fuck with? Can he do hypnosis? Can he? I mean, he's still bound up with those restraints. Can he take them off himself? Can he have Ichigo take them off for him? What's Ichigo and Aizen gonna do? You know, I'm gonna do a discussion video about this and all about Aizen's past and his motives for doing things. If Aizen were to win, let's say Aizen beats Yuha. What then? Is Aizen just going to be like, I rule over all of you bitches? Or is he kind of just going to be like, have a little bit of a change of, not really a change of heart, like, I'm a good guy now, but I could see him kind of being like, well, you guys leave me alone, I'll leave you alone. I'm going to rule Huecamundo. Anyone have a problem with that? I'll leave you alone, you leave me alone, just whatever. I could see him doing that. I can also see him being like, well, I killed the Soul King. You need a new one. I'm just saying. and Aizen just doesn't wait for anyone to say it. He just takes the fucking position and just... it could go anyway. And I'll discuss that all in the video coming up. As for Yuha, okay, so Yuha, shit ton of powers. And that's one of the reasons I want Aizen to fight him. Because he has so many fucking powers. Just so many. I can't think of any way... one way, Aizen, but I can't think of any real other way where Yuha can be defeated in a way that makes sense. That's not just a massive letdown, okay? Because a lot of people have been thinking, like, what if Uryu uses his antithesis to take away his powers? Or if he shoots him with the silver arrowhead, that takes away his powers. Or he does this, or he does that, and it's always about how he can get his powers, the powers of a god removed, and he becomes this helpless husk that can be defeated easily. I just feel like that would be a really not a very tense way to do it. I mean, he's not the kind of guy you can just, like, fucking jackhammer, like, just lay into attacks again and again. We've seen that doesn't work. That's what I mean, though. I can't see any way that Yuha can be defeated that's going to be... That's not going to lack some tension, you know. It's going to probably be a lame way, at least on some level, you know. Now Aizen is like the closest thing that rivals him in terms of just Aizen is just like this endless fucking abyss of Ryatsu. That's all he fucking is. And once he takes off those restraints, I mean, it would just be Armageddon in this place. Like, he's the only person that can fucking deal with this. You know, Ichigo got on Aizen's level at some point, but remember, that was, like, some special, like, power-up shit that he doesn't have anymore. Yeah, so, I don't know, but I should bring up that Yuha's defeat, prepare to be disappointed, at least on some level. I don't know if it's going to be as lame as just, I use the antithesis, and now Yuha's just this helpless body, and he can't do anything, and they go up to him and just punch him in the face, and that's it. I had a theory that Yuha, once upon being defeated, since he's the father of all Quincy's, and he's the genesis of all Quincy powers, that it might actually erase the Quincy bloodline, like all Quincy powers just disappear from the world, and all Quincy's become normal humans. I've had a theory on that. That might go down. That would actually be an alright. I'd be cool with that. That might give some more weight to his defeat. Yeah. I hope to find out exactly the connection between Yuha and the Soul King, and the connection between the Quincy's and the Shinigami, because there's more to it than just, like, they're enemies, you know? It's Yuha's like, the Soul King's my father, and Pernida was saying shit like Pernida is a Quincy and has always been a Quincy, but it's the left arm of the Soul King. I wanted to learn more about the Soul King's anatomy, you know, the right and left arms, you know, how do they work? Why is the Soul King like a fucking vegetable, you know? Why was Aizen so pissed off by it? Like, I refuse to accept to live in a world ruled by that thing, you know? Like, it's just it's just an inanimate object, basically. What could have it done to piss you off so much, Aizen? Like, what the fuck? So, there's more to it than that, and I hope it's explained at least a little bit more before we end this. Alright, so that basically is everything that I wanted to bring up, and so moving on to the last thing. The last chapter, speculation on what the last chapter of Bleach is going to be. I can't believe we're having this conversation, guys. This is sad. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay, Matt. You knew it was coming someday. Okay, last chapter. I'm envisioning two possibilities. Either the first possibility, it just takes place immediately after the battle. Kind of like how like we had a wrap-up chapter after Aizen defected to the Soul Society. From the Soul Society, there was like a week where it's like, here's just a brief, post-chapter, where we see everybody recovering in the Soul Society and everyone's rebuilding the structures. The Soul Society got completely wrecked and everyone's rebuilding, and they're rebuilding the Soul Palace and everything, and we get to see the Zero Squad again. Kubo releases I'm hoping the last chapter of Bleach is like, the last chapters of these, like Naruto, is longer than normal. It's going to be probably 30, 40, maybe 50 pages long, so look forward to that. We're just going to get a brief update on everybody, Zero Squad, Shinigami, captains, lieutenants, people recovering. We'll cut to the world of living, see what's up with Ichigo's friends, and whatever. And if it takes place like right immediately after the final battle, maybe like a few days later, we're going to get maybe an emotional moment where Orihime finally confesses his love to Ichigo, just tying up all the fucking strings. Because I'm an Ichirukia fan, but it's going to be Ichigo Orihime if Kubo's going to reference it, which I hope he references just for plot's sake. Because it's not even just like fan theory. Orihime has come out and said, and it's been referenced a few times in the series, she loves Ichigo. So that still is a plot thread. That's not just a fan shipping thing. That is a plot thread that needs tied up. So it's probably going to get tied up. Maybe we'll see a movement with like Rukia and Renji again. Moment with Rukia and Byakuya. The construction of the Gotei. Maybe we'll get to see what's up with the zombies, like maybe Kensei, Rose, and everyone maybe they're not zombies anymore. We'll get to see them back in action. These are all brief panels, by the way, just to see everybody and probably trying to cram as many people in the series as possible. Let's see. There's no Sternritters that are still alive other than Yuha, right, and Iruryu, right? I'm trying to think if there's anyone left that we didn't catch on. Giselle? Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, there's no updates there. So that's one possibility. We just get like a chat, and then the chapter ends with Ichigo walking through the Senkaimon, and all of his friends are there, and it's just like, thank you for reading, and that's it. The second possibility is we have a longer time skip. We get like a time skip like 5, 10, 15, 20 years in the future where Ichigo is grown up now, and he's either living a normal life in the world of the living with his friends, or he's become a new captain, the Gotei 13, and we kind of do the same thing I just said, except it's in the future now. So we still have like panels where we see everybody and where they're at and what they're doing. It's just that everyone's older now. Yeah, kind of the same thing Naruto did, basically, with that. And then maybe Ichigo has he has a child, and the child can see spirits. And that's the end of the series. I could totally see that. I could see like they're living in Karakura Town or something, and Ichigo has a daughter, and she's like 10, and then she sees like a hell butterfly and starts to follow it, or she sees a ghost and starts to walk over, and that's where the fucking Bleach series ends, and that'd be so emotional. I could see that. It ends with like the hell butterfly, and that's the last scene as it dissolves, or some artistic Kubo shit. But yeah, those are my two my theories on how the last chapter is gonna actually play out. What about a sequel? What about Bleach anime coming back? What about another series that's not written by Kubo but written by somebody else, kind of like Naruto and with Boruto? What about all that stuff? You know it. I'll be making a video about it. I gotta play out that Bleach shit as much as possible. I gotta make as many Bleach videos as possible. I gotta try to milk it for all it's worth, because as we all know, as soon as Bleach ends, this channel's fucking dead, guys. Won't be able to talk about Bleach after it ends. That'll be impossible. Can you imagine me talking about Bleach after Bleach ends? I'd be a fucking loser to do that. Oh, man. I'm being sarcastic. In case you don't know, I know there's a few people like, are you serious? Like, no. People still talk about Naruto. Naruto ended almost 2 fucking years ago. I will still continue to talk about Bleach whenever there's Bleach-related news. If the anime best case scenario, anime comes back and I can do episode reviews of that shit. But as for a replacement for the weekly reviews, I've chosen My Hero Academia for that. be making a video about that. That should be just the tagline of this video. I mean, you get a video, and this gets a video, and that gets a video, and that gets a video. But yeah, so, you know, I'll still be around. There'll always be a place for Bleach on this channel. I'll still talk about it. There's actually still discussion videos I want to talk about. I wanted to do a discussion video on Hash Wealth and shit. So don't worry, don't worry. I'll still be making Bleach shit whenever I feel like it. Don't worry, it's how I do it now. Whenever I feel like talking about something, I talk about something. But yeah, so that's the video. I'm really trying to think of anything else to say because, like I said, this is the last one of these we're doing. Let's see. Last volume, last chapter, speculation on the characters, Zero Squad, Ichigo, Bankai, Uryu, kind of already talked about him. Yeah, I think we're all squaresies. I'm sure there was probably something else you wanted me to talk about, but either I just didn't feel like it was important enough. Like I said, it was something like, well, what about if Ukiyora's coming back? He's not.